This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 10th show. I'm committed to providing you knowledge needed to be successful in every area regarding your finances. Knowledge is power, and that's why I'm here and what you'll receive for listening to my show. If you're hearing the show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. To talk with any of the guests I have in studio or myself, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150, or online at themoneyhour.com to connect with any of them. And in studio right now, very happy to have Judy Clibborn back in studio, our state representative. Judy, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having a conversation with you.
Well, thank you, Tina. Thanks for inviting me back.
Of course. Little background about Judy. Representative Clibborn has a distinguished 20-year career in public service. She first became engaged in politics as a private citizen and soon after ran for a seat on the Mercer Island City Council. She went on to serve as both a council member and mayor of Mercer Island before joining the legislature. January 2016 will mark her 14th year in the House of Representatives and her 9th year chairing the Transportation Committee. As legislator, Representative Clibborn, top priority has been building a comprehensive modern transportation system that connects communities and grows our economy. She was one of the chief architects behind the bipartisan transportation package that passed the legislation in 2015, earning praise from businesses, transit advocate, labor organizations, local governments, and consumers across the state. Her dedication and ability to her work across the aisle has been recognized both locally and nationally. Representative Clibborn has been a Mercer Island resident for 48 years, married with 3 children and 5 grandchildren. She holds both a BS and an RN from the University of Washington. And Judy, you know what? I just want to start out with 405 because I know today there are some challenges on 405. What's going on? What's an update you can share with my listeners?
Well, I think this is hot off the presses. Certainly
Yes.
Coming in this week, it's been a really difficult week for something that we've been able to work on for a long time, but until it hits the ground, we really have to have people experience it,
Yes.
and it's a really hard thing for people to understand. So I was going to just mention why. Okay. First of all, we had the money from our previous gas tax to widen 405. So when you widen that, you actually reach the limits of how you will ever be able to widen that road. You're up to the buildings in Bellevue when you go through Bellevue. So to look at how you will use those lanes, because we know we're going to grow. And we want to have our economy grow and have more people, but that means more traffic.
Yes.
And so in other areas of the nation, and actually we had a pilot project on 167, we've used the concept of a hot lane. And this is an embellishment of the hot lane that's on 167 because it has a graduated toll to make sure that it will always move. And the surety of moving is, for some people, that's worth the extra money.
Yes.
But the other thing is, if people buy into a new lane like that, and there's 2 new lanes if you go from Bothell to Bellevue, there's 2 new lanes. We didn't take any existing lanes.
Okay.
So we took the HOV lanes, we took a new lane, and we let people buy in. If they buy in, they're coming out of the general purpose lane. And what we found on 167 was that the general purpose lanes went up in their ability to move by 20%.
Wow.
So, when you talk to businesses that are down in the 167 area, there were businesses who have to do deliveries. They would hire another person so that they could be an HOV. When we made them hot lanes, they didn't have to have an extra person.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So when you talk about the impacts and who uses it, it's not a Lexus lane.
Yep.
It's the person who is going to pay $10 for 10 minutes of being late to daycare.
I won't be doing that, Judy.
I don't. Well, just so you know.
I'm always ahead of schedule most of the time.
And for those people who are getting caught in it right now, as it works its way out, we say 6 months.
Yep.
It will be tweaked. We had to tweak 167. I think the hardest thing is figuring out when you need to get out of the lanes to get in. I talked to somebody yesterday who was not a proponent of this, and she looked me in the eye and said, about 405. And I said, yes.
Oh, no.
And she said, it took me 2 days to figure out that I was not out, I didn't get out of the lane in time, so I missed my exit. I love it. I've knocked a half hour off of my drive.
Yes, wow, that's
awesome. I want other people to experience that, but right now it's a furor.
Yes. So if you have any comments to share, definitely go to the Money Hour and connect with me. So Judy, I understand that the legislature passed on 11.9 cents gas tax this year. Now we have a lot of realtors that I bring into studio. I'm actually going to be talking with Maureen a little bit later today. Why should our realtors care about this?
Well, I find that realtors are always asking me questions. Have had a number of presentations.
Sure, they are.
Mainly, they're the people that you are selling to are making decisions on where they live according to how they commute, or the services that they require. And they want to know, first of all, if you're a realtor, you want to know where are those big projects being built because they might impact you for a decade. So you want to know that. But you also want to know that that when you get done, that people will have a good commute and you can sell your property and tell them how it's going to look into the future. There are this is the biggest package ever in the state of Washington.
Wow.
So it has a lot of big projects. It also has a lot of small projects that work in the neighborhoods and work in the cities and helps with choke points. And I think if people look at the package and go down the list, as a realtor, you should know what's coming in this package so that you know the future. Of
course. So, Judy, with the gas prices, being a little high already, why do we need more gas tax other than transportation?
I know a lot of people don't understand, what's happening to the gas tax we're already paying. And there's a little learn that you have to do.
And I'm here speaking for the listeners.
I
Judy.
know. So I'm talking to you out there in Radioland that all that money is not being squandered, but it is paying off previously built projects because it is bonded. So it is paying off bonds for 30 years. And if we didn't pass new gas tax, we wouldn't have any new projects.
Okay, makes sense.
So we would be done. And it takes about a decade to build some of these projects.
Yeah.
If you look at, some of the projects that we're building now, we'll finish up 520.
Yeah.
Well, we've been building 520 for 10 years.
Yes.
So let's get the other half.
Exactly. And then you got everything going on with Sound Transit. That was really fun having both of you in here for a show and kind of a conversation there. So, Judy, how is it going to help us with all of the congestion that we have?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Sound Transit because that's one of the big things that was part of this package was an agreement to allow, because the state has to allow Sound Transit to go out with their revenue. And so Sound Transit 3 was a big part of this package. Doesn't give them the taxes, but it allows them to go out and ask for the voters. As I said, it finishes up 520, and it does some new connections to the ports. And for our economy that is so grounded in exporting and importing, our state is very dependent on exporting. So these investments to keep our ports open, and particularly in Tacoma, and connecting up, huge investments. And then there's all the small projects, like I mentioned, that will really make a difference for cities.
Yes. So if one of my listeners is asking, when they hear about mismanagement, why should we put more revenue into the Washington State DOT?
I know it's always easy to point a finger at DOT, and sometimes they do make mistakes. We've had a couple mistakes. The pontoons were a mistake.
Yes,
people got fired. Heads rolled, and we actually figured out how to pay for the mistake, and so we will continue on. Sometimes let's look at Bertha. Bertha is not a project that DOT is doing. It is the private sector is building this tunnel. And we are in the oversight, but you don't want us to say to this company how they should build their project, because at that point we would have the risk. We let them go, and the headlines, I think, today was that we will be asking our insurer for some money because the project is delayed to cover our costs.
Good.
But most of those costs, they're going to be on the private sector.
Got it.
And so I think it's hard for the public to understand what is DOT and what is the private sector.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for explaining that. But it does make it easier. So, what about the reforms that we heard so much about? Can you talk about that?
I was so proud of the fact. One of the things that happened with this package is that we all worked together. We successfully wanted it to happen. It didn't matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat or Senate. House member, but we didn't agree on the reform. So we had to sit down and hammer out. And so what we ended up was coming to an agreement on things that would help us with the costs of delivering projects around labor contracts, ferry building, environmental processes, and project delivery. And the most fun thing about project delivery savings is we've captured them, and they will be used about halfway through this 16-year project. We will take those savings and do new projects. Okay.
And what about the climate change issues that we've been talking about?
So the climate change was a big part, and I have to hand it to the governor. This is a very important issue for him, and he had to sign our transportation package with something he didn't like in it, but the transportation package meant a lot to him. He has issued an executive order to do climate change. It will not be the things that he was talking about that were a part of our package. So he will be working on that through ecology.
Okay. Anything else happening in the package?
Well, there's so much happening in this package, and it kind of brings everything like State Patrol and ferries, and cities and counties get money, so they're going to be able to do things that not just what we tell them to do. I think it's a very enlightening, and hundreds of thousands of jobs. Great for the economy.
So, Judy, I know that you've had a lot of successes. We've got a minute to go to commercial, and I want you to leave my listeners with just in awe of how amazing you are and what you really are doing for us. Big success, Judy. Let's wrap it up with that.
Thank you so much. I'm very proud of the bipartisan and the work that we did this year. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Judy, thank you so much again. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Wish I could have you more, but I know that you're in high demand, and a lot of people are asking for your appearance. So thank you so much. Coming up next in the Money Hour, title insurance. What is it and why do you need it? Well, if you're thinking about purchasing real estate, you definitely want to stay here to listen to my conversation with my next guest, Maureen Nolan, broker, owner of Lakeshore Realty West, right here at 1150 AM, KKNW, after this short break.